Welcome back to another video tutorial brought to you by thevirtualinstructor.com. Today we're going to talk about gesture drawing. And gesture drawing is basically drawing the human figure quickly. I'm going to start with a line from the head to the feet of my subject. That's going to ensure that I get the entire figure on the picture plane. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to study the line for the shoulders and the line for the waist, and I'm going to make a line for both of those. Sometimes that line is diagonal, so make sure that you pay special attention to your subject. Then I'm going to draw a stick figure. Who can't draw a stick figure? Everyone can draw a stick figure. I'm going to make kind of a square for the torso and a oval type shape for the head. I also like to draw little circles and shapes for different parts of the body. The circles in my case are the joints, and the shapes are like the hands and the feet. We're doing a male pose today, so that affects the shapes that I make. If it was a female that was the subject, my shapes for my torso would be a little bit different. Okay, this gentleman has his hands in his pocket. He's kind of a business guy. He's wearing a business suit, and I am looking at a photograph. The next step, after you have drawn the line from the head to the feet, line for the shoulders, and line for the waist, and then done the stick figure, is to put the meat on the bones. And in this step, I start putting in some of the details, and basically I'm just trying to thicken up the form. In the previous step where I drew the stick figure, I was thinking about the bone structure of the man and trying to draw my stick figure to indicate the bones, and I drew it pretty lightly. Now in this step I'm starting to get a little bit darker, a little heavier with my pencil. And you can do this with anything, felt tip marker, charcoal, paintbrush, whatever, doesn't matter. In this demonstration I'm just of course using graphite pencil. Alright, now I'm just down at the foot adding a little bit more detail, and as I'm doing so I'm starting to think about my light source, and so here and there I'm going to be adding some of those shadows and leaving some of those highlights as I go. And I'm working very loosely and very quickly. Gesture drawings are not really totally about being accurate with the details. It's more about being accurate with the position that the figure is in. So it's really a quick way of drawing. It's a sketchy type of drawing, and it's done really to create a base from which you're going to create a painting on top of or a finished drawing from. So this would be considered more of a sketch, although there are some really nice lines that come out of this. So our guy's wearing a little bit of a tie, so I'm going to put a tie up there, and as you can see I'm just kind of indicating a little bit where the different details are. There are a wide variety of ways that you can do a gesture drawing. Some artists choose to just kind of keep it really loose with just kind of gestural marks, even all the way down to just making scribbles. Some artists like to just block in the figure. This is kind of the way I like to do it because I think it gives me enough room to put some of the details in, yet still kind of stay on the loose end of things. And again, it's just drawing the line from the head to the feet, line for the shoulders, line for the waist, then making a stick figure, and then right now we're thickening up the body. I call this stage putting meat on the bones. And now I'm going to start blocking in some of the shadow, trying to still create a full range of value. And everything that you do, you should probably try to create that full range of value. In this image, the light source is coming from the left side, so the objects on the right side of things are going to have a little bit more shadow, so that's why I'm starting on the right side, adding that shadow. Add a little bit of detail to the tie, just enough to give us the indication of maybe a little bit of a pattern. And I'm still keeping things pretty loose. I'm not trying to handle my graphite the way I normally would with a finished pencil drawing. Instead, I'm trying to be loose, just kind of putting some diagonal lines to indicate some of that shadow. Really paying attention to my resource, whether that's a live model or whether that's a photograph that you're working from. Really pay attention to the dark areas and the light areas. Try to match those values as best as possible, even though you're working quickly. Give a little indication of the wrinkle in the pants.
just keeping it really loose, but still putting enough information on the paper so that I've got a respectable drawing. And remember that the whole purpose is to get the position that the figure is in. Some more dark shadows on the inside of that arm. And the hands are hidden in this one because the hands are in the pocket, but hands are really easy to draw. They're just a series of shapes. I suggest you watch the video tutorial on drawing hands. Make things real easy for you. It's basically the same thing as drawing the figure. You're basically drawing the structure and then drawing those shapes and then filling in those shapes. Make that front shoe a little bit darker, but leave a little bit of area for the highlight. And now I'm ready to go into the head, and I'm just going to give a loose indication. Again, we're not trying to make it look just like the person. This is not about creating identity. Gesture drawing is just purely about the figure. But I am going to give some indication of values and a little bit of information of the facial features. And when I'm drawing loosely, I'm really focusing in on just looking at the dark and light values, trying to analyze where they are, and trying to draw them as accurately as possible in the shortest amount of time. So I'm not worrying about the immediate details, just the details that are found in the values. A little bit of dark underneath the nose. Still staying true to my light source. Again, it's coming from the left side. And right now I've probably got enough information for this to be a finished gesture drawing. Just going back and kind of accentuating some of the lines, enhancing the line quality, which is the variety of the thickness and thinness of the line. Maybe putting a little indication of some shadows here and there. Now I'm going to kind of bring out the contrast a little bit more in his face area by putting a little bit of value behind him. And I'm going to do the same thing on the arm because I got a little off on my proportions there, so I can fix it by putting a little bit of value around it. Not too much. Want to keep it loose. And now I want to point something out here. I want to point out that the human figure, the proportions of the human figure are about 7.5 heads tall. Some people are 7 heads tall. Some people are even 6.5 heads tall. Some people are a little bit taller than that. But just a good way to check your proportions, to make sure your head is right in proportion to the body, is to check it. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.5 heads tall. And that's going to bring us to the end of this video tutorial. I hope you enjoyed it.